So, namaste, I'm Shira, and I'm going to talk about this yoga teachers class. And I'm really glad for those of you who've already signed up. And I'm just going to go into the depths of what we're going to go through over this year. So, for me, this whole thing started because I feel as a yoga teacher, there's moments where I feel very lonely and I need to be sharing what I'm going through with peers, not just mentors, but also peers. How do other people experience their teaching? What do they come up against? And so there was I think about 4 years ago, I felt very lonely and I didn't have that community. So this is where this whole class starts from, is I'm looking for community, or I was looking for community, and now I want to create that space for others, because I know what it's like as a yoga teacher when you're totally alone. And there's a lot of things that come up because we play a lot of different roles as a yoga teacher. We're not just a teacher, but we're a mentor, we're a coach, we're a friend, we're an example. And sometimes it's really hard to know which hat to wear. So, and these things can create uncertainty in us as we're teaching. And so it's really important to know, when are we playing out what role, and how can we better address our students in a situation to make them feel safe, and to make us feel safe as a teacher, and to know what our place is, and what our scope of practice is. What can we teach as a yoga teacher? Because we are not healers, we are not nutritionists unless we have those certifications and degrees. So the way I'm going to be addressing this whole class is going through Ayurvedic psychology, which is what I am trained in. Okay, so we're going to look at the essentials of Ayurveda, not so much the doshas. There is an aspect of that because that affects our mind. And so when we see how the play of the gunas are affecting us, we can more clearly understand the dynamics that are happening inside ourselves, and then between us and the student, and then between us and the class. Okay, so there will come up like we feel something, or something is being projected onto us, and we can either react, respond, or realize that that projection is happening. So we can be projected upon by our students that we know everything, that we can guide them, which is not true. We can guide them certain things. We know something more than they do, but that doesn't make us arise to this level where we are put on a pedestal, because that can really make us fall. And I think we've seen all that in the traditions of yoga, that nearly every single tradition has had this hierarchy, and they've had to break down. And for me, it's been very disillusioning to see that. I struggled a lot, even though I was not particularly aligned to any one tradition. It did hurt a lot to see that happening. It was very a lot of grief came up for me, and distrust, of course. And so then at some point you want to throw out the teachings as well. There was a moment where I didn't even want to practice yoga, and I just did the physical, and of course the meditation and breathing techniques on an Ayurvedic level. So it was just very scientific for me. But we'll be working with the doshas. We'll look at the 5 different bodies, the koshas, which is really essential if you want to start moving beyond just practicing, and really go into transforming and going beyond our spiritual bypassing, which is only moving down those channels and grooves that we already are good at. Especially when we work with students, we are obviously going to show what we're already good at, which is a good thing. That makes us have that role that I am your teacher. I can show you the way, but we should also be able to open up enough to be transparent enough to show that we are just human. We don't have to share our whole story. We don't have to, this is what I did in the beginning, was just divulge too much, which is also not necessary. We can just give away or take the essence of the story and show how we too make mistakes. We don't have all the answers, and we need to work together. A student is also your teacher. Your class is a teaching. Okay, these are the things we will cover from my experience. So I have more than 12 years of teaching. A lot of it has been one-on-ones. So I do take people deeper, and I do ask people to look within and see the stuff that is not so nice. And that makes it more difficult, but it's also more intimate, and therefore we release those dark aspects of self. We move them into the light of our consciousness, and therefore it releases us. And that gives us more space, it gives us more freedom, it gives us more clarity, and it gives us more certainty. It makes us feel like, okay, I am this. We can hold ourselves with that whole story, the good, the bad, and the utterly ugly, because we are all of those things. And with each of those shadows, there are emotions attached. There are all our past experiences, which in yoga and Sanskrit and Ayurveda, we call them samskaras. They were the deep grooves, those things that we believe about ourselves and therefore behave in certain ways. And these will come up when we're triggered by our class, or triggered by questions, or a situation which feels like you're incompetent, you can't deal with the demands of what's being asked. Sometimes you have a student who's very difficult or very challenging. When we have pitta students, they're very provocative. They want to show that they know more than you. And this is normal. And how do we stand in that space? Because it is possible that a student knows more than you. And that's okay. I think if we have this, what do you call it, bearing or stance that we know we don't know everything and we are open to the other, it's not so dishelving. We don't get knocked off our feet so quickly. So from this, we will work over the months. I've written them down, from earth, water, fire, going to air, space, then prana, mind, consciousness. Okay, so we're going into more and more subtle. And each time we will have different practices, different emotions. We will have journaling prompts to go along with that. We will meet the first week. We will go in depth into all of it. There will be Q&A, there will be a practice, and then there can be a discussion at the end. And then after that, we're gonna move into the next week. So 2 weeks later, we will go deeper into it. You've probably practiced that practice at least 3 times a week, so you can really feel it, or gone over the material, the PDFs that I send you. There will be constitutional tests from Ayurveda, but on an emotional level, which is something that hasn't been done. It's something I've created because I felt that was missing. You will receive PDFs with different prompts and questions to go deeper, to really look at yourself and understand where you hold yourself back, where are you sabotaging yourself, where do you have beliefs that are limiting, or mindsets that stop you from thriving in your life, in your mind, in your relationships. Okay, so for me, yoga has become relationship, basically, to self and others. It's no longer the practices so much, it's just daily life. And how do we relate? How do we meet people? How do we meet a situation? Okay, and how can we be more authentically ourselves and honestly accept who we are, how we are, and from that empower, because we are empowered, because we stand in our power, knowing our weaknesses and our strengths, our qualities, our gift, and also the places where we still need to grow, which some people call threats. So it's a bit like the SWOTs, but I call it opportunities. It's places of growth, it's development. So we always have space to develop. So that's where our doubts come from, because if we don't even know what we need to develop, that's when we become uncertain, because we know we're lacking something, but we never took the time to get clear about what that was. Sometimes just knowing that you're not good at a certain thing and being able to admit it to yourself is enough. And sometimes you realize for the growth you want to make as a teacher, you actually need to face those things and really go into it and develop some part of that aspect of yourself. Okay, and then we're going to move into transforming our choices of relating, of teaching and practice. From that, we're going to grow and move through difficult phases of teaching, being an example, and holding ourselves and the space of others and their experience, because their experience, if we want to take people deeper, because for me, yoga is all about transforming. It's not about just doing things as so and so has told us because that is alignment or that is the way the teachings are, which gives us all safety. This is all safety. That's why we use them. These are all structures. It's like setting up a frame. And from that, you want to develop as a teacher. You don't want to just stick to what you've been taught. You want to experiment and explore and find out. And you can't just do it in your own practice. Yes, you're going to find it there, but it's also by teaching it to others and seeing, does that work? No, it doesn't. Oh, yes, it does. And going further, and ask your students for feedback. Okay, be open to their ideas, to their experiences. And it doesn't always have to be good. Okay, it's not about feeling good, it's about feeling what's happening, because that is where you get the answers. You are there to reflect to them what's happening, but they're also there, your students are there to reflect back to you what they're experiencing and how that is for them. And you understand the diversity of experience from the same practice. Okay, so not every practice is for everyone, but that's why you should be able to use language in a way that makes it permissive and accessible to everyone. We're going to develop our understanding of power dynamics. So understand when you use language or the way you teach or what you're teaching because you feel either that you need to hold that space in that way. It could be rigidity because you don't actually know if that's the right thing because you haven't tried different teachers. So it's really important to keep learning with different teachers. Anatomy, if you've only done your teacher training with 25 hours, you haven't even scratched the surface. Okay, do at least another 200-300 hours of anatomy with different teachers who are not just yoga teachers or yoga therapists, but actual physiotherapists or doctors, what do you call them, osteopaths. This will give you much more insight into different aspects or points of view to see the body, to understand the body. So for me, that was a big failing. And uncertainty, it created a lot of self-doubt and therefore lack of confidence. You stand in front of the class, but you're not sure of what you're teaching because you haven't actually gone into that area and studied more to make sure. So now I've covered so many anatomy classes that I know what I'm talking about. And if I don't know it, I will honestly say to people, play around, feel for yourself. Place your feet or your knees, your hips like this. Try that. How's that? And maybe it's good today and tomorrow it's not, or in half an hour it's not. So let people experience for themselves and start to create this feeling and experience of trust in the body and the intelligence within the students' own physicality and physiology and psychology. So the more you know about your physiology, the more you understand your psychology, the more you know in others, because we are all unique, but what we seek, what we look for, how we behave is all the same. It's all run through wanting to be connected to someone else, wanting to belong, wanting to be safe, wanting to be heard. So that's where we're all coming from, and we're all seeking to be part of some community somewhere that is aligned with our values. Okay, so when you remember those two ends of the spectrum, you can't go wrong, because that's where you're keeping people safe. You too want to create that. And so you always need to keep studying to make sure that you can honestly hold people. People are more intelligent than we give them credit for. And so when you can relate to them in that way that you understand their intelligence, their potential, they feel that straight away, and that gives them the ability to step into their power. You want your teachings to be empowering. We want to change this world. We don't want to live in this world anymore that there is still power dynamics that we have no idea about, that are creating this way of life that we're living in right now. And it's not going to change by us just feeling good and not killing animals and being peaceful. We have to be proactive and really take big steps to change and to transform ourselves. And the only way we're going to transform the world is having transforming classes, really knowing what the hell you're talking about, really getting real, okay? Not just following a tradition, because traditions are there to as a foundation. And from that, you experiment. We are growing. We as human beings are getting very conscious. There's a lot of people who are very conscious and really want this world to continue in a healthy, sustainable way. And we've all got to do our best for that. So I don't have any questions that have come in apart from the price. So for the price, it's 300 euros for the whole year. There is so much teaching that I'm going to be sharing with you. I have a lot of knowledge that I'm dying to share with people. All my friends, peers, and students know this. And that is why I have to hold back in my own classes. So for me, this is really like, I can let the floodgates open and really share this stuff. So I would love you to join me on this 1 year journey. I don't know if I will do it the year after, it depends. And for sure, if you have money troubles, we can talk about this. Just send me an email and explain your situation and tell me what you're thinking. We can pay in installments, monthly or quarterly. What else? It's a 2.5 hour class. It depends how many students are joining. If it's just a few students, it'll only be 2 hours, which will give everyone enough time to ask their questions and to be part of the discussion. If you don't join the live classes, so I will do in class, in person, but also Zoom lives, I will record those recordings. I will keep them in a special YouTube channel, which is just private for the people who've turned up for the course. So, and that is lifetime access. I'm hoping to put it into another platform at some point, and you will still have access then. And as the classes grow, as I have more information, you will always get updates, because I know yoga teachers don't usually earn a lot unless they've spent lots of money or have really good business skills, or business people who are helping them develop their skills to really turn their teaching into a thriving business, which I hope you do have. But at the same time, it's really hard to have a thriving business when you aren't even confident of what you're teaching. And there's, like I said, there's been a lot of shit gone down with the last few years of traditions just showing all their true colors and all the power dynamics and abuses of power, whether that's sexual, psychological, physical, doesn't matter. It's all been abuses, and it's all been men mainly. And seeing we're all women almost, it's about 80%, 90% in some places who study yoga. I think it should be women also who should be taking the reins and leading this wild horse into a prosperous place. Okay, and that's why we need to step into our power. We all, each teacher and each practitioner has knowledge and has the right and authority to speak of what they know. Okay, so it doesn't matter on which tradition you come from or who your mentors were, as long as you keep getting mentorship, as long as you keep learning, and even if it's just books because you haven't got the finances or the resources to get in person or mentorship, it's important that you keep studying keep staying open. Okay, I know I did this, we can get very down a path of knowing and feeling that like we're the expert, we have all the answers because this is the tradition and this is how it is. And I know because my teacher told me so, and all their teachers have told me so too. This is being very rigid, okay? And then we stop being curious. We stop opening to the full potential of yoga. Yoga is, like they say in the old texts, there are as many kinds of yoga as there are beings. So it's endless, okay? And every person has something to share. So I have something to share, but so does everyone who's going to take part of this course, everyone who ever does yoga, and even people who don't practice yoga, they have so much to teach, okay? So everyone is a teacher. So let's be part of this community. Let's join in together. Let's hold each other accountable. Let's hold each other, let's hold the space for each other to grow in our failings, in our weaknesses, in our fears, in our griefs, in our loneliness, in our pain, but also in our beauty, in our strength, in our power, in our passion. Okay, we can only get to that juicy stuff if we go into the darkness. Look at a tree. If the tree can't grow into the darkness and the damp, hard earth, there's no way it can grow up into the light. And we are not different. Don't think you're any different. I'm sure you know you're not. Okay, but sometimes we have to remember those very simple reflections of the universe, of nature. Okay, so I want to grow together. I don't want to do this journey on my own. I feel very lonely at the moment. Okay, I feel good in myself, but I feel we are all being separated. We are kept apart, socially distanced, wearing masks. We can't see each other's faces. We can't see if someone is smiling or angry or upset or afraid. Okay, and these social cues, these connect us, these bond us. Okay, if this bond is broken, which you can see Facebook and all these other mainstream social platforms are trying to disconnect us. They're not about social connection. Okay, they're about getting people more and more into their groove, into their rigid thoughts, and therefore separating. Okay, and we need to stand together. We need to work together and turn this ship around of where we're heading, because it's not looking very good. Okay, and even if COVID is gone, there will be another virus. The planet is warming, global change is releasing lots of different bacteria and viruses. And people's health hasn't been looked after for the last 50 years that we've been consuming sugar and fats and too sedentary lives. And so lots of things are happening. Allopathic medicine can only take us when we're already in crisis mode, and it's not coping very well at the moment. Even in crisis mode, it's overwhelmed. So this is not the health system we want. And I think we have to look at yoga and Ayurveda and other traditional medicines and really start to empower ourselves, and quickly. We don't have 50 years more to go. Okay, we have a short time, and I think we need all of us to wake up and start taking action however we feel we can. Namaste. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. And I wish you a wonderful new year. I wish you a wonderful moment with family, however that might be, in your heart, in your mind. Just send positive thoughts and feelings and emotions out there to charge yourself and others, even if it's just on a spiritual level. Charge yourselves. Know that the power is within you. Namaste. Take care.